Thank you for attending today's webinar, Authentic Networking, brought to you by your Vanderbilt Alumni Association. I'm Kate Graham, and I serve as the Associate Director for Campus Engagement in the Alumni Relations Office, and we're thrilled that you've joined us today. We will give everyone a minute or so to log on, and in the meantime, I just want to provide you all with some details about today's webinar. First off, you should see a poll pop up here soon asking what your biggest challenge is with networking. If you can, go ahead and answer that, and Kacey will address those answers once we get going with the webinar. This webinar will last approximately 45 minutes, and there will be an opportunity for Q&A towards the end of the presentation. Should you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit questions via the Q&A function. Also, this webinar will be recorded, and we will add the webinar to our Alumni Association website, as well as email you the direct link in the coming days. So you can be on the lookout for that. Today's webinar topic, again, is authentic networking, and this is the perfect topic as we approach our annual networking night on Thursday, November 14th. There's still time to register if you haven't already, and we will drop the link for you to find out more information and to locate a networking night near you in the chat here soon. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Kacey Cardin. Kacey is a certified executive coach, TEDx speaker, psychedelic-assisted therapy facilitator, and creator of the NQ Energetic Intelligence Framework. Kacey's clients are making a global impact at companies including Google, Disney, and ABC, as well as through their own best-selling books, television shows, and viral TED Talks. Kacey specializes in zeroing in on what deeply matters to her clients about how and why they want to change the world, and she settles for nothing less than each client's truth and greatness in action. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kacey. Thank you so much
Thank you. All right, let's see the results of this first poll. See what we got. We're working with. Okay. Oh, good mix of things here. Let's see, can I scroll down? Great. All right. All right, so hopefully we're going to hit on something that will support with each one of these today. Go ahead and close this out. And introduce myself. I'm Kacey. I'm a Blair graduate from 2004. I'm a professional opera singer turned professional certified coach as of a little over a decade ago. And as she said, I'm an executive coach and founder of the ENQ Energetic Intelligence. My company offers coaching and leadership development intersected with psychedelic assisted therapy and plant medicine for high profile leaders and organizations. We help ambitious people experience more joyful, fulfilling, and profitable leadership. The work we do is at its core relational. It's about connecting more deeply with yourself, with those you serve, and with your own deeper purpose and wisdom. I'm thrilled to be here with you all today, supporting our very powerful alumni network. Vanderbilt continues to shape my life and career in the most wonderful and unexpected ways. And the topic of authentic networking has been top of mind for me since my college days. I don't know about all of you, but when I was in school here, I was often told to be mindful of making connections for my future, but no one ever really told me about how to make connections or how to sustain them. I spent years feeling like I was either making friends or professional connections, like I needed to be one version of myself socially, but another version professionally. I even had a professor insist that I go by Catherine, my full name, instead of Kacey my freshman year, because no one would take me seriously as Kacey. I tried on Catherine for a semester, but I felt like an imposter version of myself. And I knew then that I wasn't willing to sacrifice authenticity for the sake of bias or other people's limiting stories about who I was supposed to be. Now, I work with many clients these days on executive presence and leadership and how to model authenticity without sacrificing professionalism or gravitas. So I understand the importance of striking the right balance, and I know you do too. So we'll take a look today at what your authentic presence might consist of. I don't think I'm the only person who has ever felt a little disjointed or unsure of who to be when faced with the prospect of networking. It's a word that gets a cringe from many of us, even though we all know it's essential for success, especially if you're an entrepreneur, a job seeker, a freelancer, or really any ambitious leader looking toward your next level. We also know what it feels like to be on either side of a networking conversation that feels forced or fake or like someone is being used. I think those feelings are what many of us want to avoid when we sign up for a webinar on authentic networking. So we've seen what brought you here today, which is really helpful. It's nice to hear. I think some of us might be looking for better connections, tips on navigating the event, confidence boosters. I saw some elevator pitch in there. So I appreciate you all sharing. And I really want to acknowledge you for investing in yourselves and a more authentic community by showing up here today. There are many ways that we could approach this. Here's what to expect. Today, we're going to cover some high-level concepts and distinctions. Then we're going to make our way into some practical tips, foolproof tactics before opening the floor for Q&A. And actually, now that I've said that, I think we actually do have one other poll that may give us some more specifics. Let's throw that poll. I think it's poll number 1. I reordered the polls about 5 minutes before this webinar started, so bear with us here. Let's throw poll number 1 up. There we go. Yeah, so take a minute to answer that. And like I said, hopefully we're going to touch on a little bit of everything in a way that will support no matter what your reason is. Well, let's go ahead and see the results of this one. Great. Great. Okay. Yeah, definitely got you today. This is going to be, I think this will be great for everybody who, on all answers of that. So, like I said, we're gonna do a little high level and we're gonna go into some tactics. Now, I love an interactive webinar, so I'm gonna invite you to utilize the Q&A function, or at least write down some of your Q&A throughout. If I get a little nudge with some questions, I may pause here and there to address something as we go, but definitely have Q&A ready at the end because I'm really excited to engage with all of you. My intention is that you be able to utilize what you learn here today in both the professional and personal settings, interviews, speed networking, office parties, even family holidays. So keep our work in mind as you head to Aunt Mildred's for Thanksgiving, and know that you will be equipped to connect with fourth cousin Eddie, even if he brings up politics or religion. That leads me to a first tip on authentic networking. Authentic networking is about seeking to connect rather than to control or correct. We're not coming in to dominate the conversation, nor are we allowing ourselves to be dominated or railroaded. Authentic networking requires attention to your own boundaries, the boundaries of the people around you, your being, and your energy levels. Masterful, authentic networkers know when and how to enter the conversation, as well as how to gracefully exit the encounter. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We're going to frame today as if we're preparing for a networking event of some sort, and we're going to break it down into 3 segments: before, during, and after the event. Before the event is about preparing yourself, your mindset, your emotional and energetic state, and your intentions. During the event is about staying grounded, reading the room, making genuine connections, and knowing when to leave. And then after the event, which is about nurturing your network. Again, I know networking isn't everyone's favorite word. It tends to evoke images of forced small talk and collecting business cards that gather dust. This is because we tend to fall into a default mindset when it comes to networking. Transactional versus relational. So let's start by reframing networking as relational rather than transactional. Networking isn't about a quick exchange of business cards, cards that you're either going to leave in a stack on your desk, or throw away as soon as you get home, or leave forgotten in a coat pocket until next winter when you've forgotten who that person was or what you said you'd reach out to them about. It's not about forced small talk. Look, sometimes the conversational engine needs a little revving before we can really get going. Small talk isn't all bad, and it doesn't have to be awkward. And you're not going to click with every person you meet, and that's okay. Networking is not pretending to be someone you're not. This is where having an elevator pitch can be a handy tool. We're not going to spend a ton of time on the elevator pitch today. I think there are a lot of workshops and resources on that. There are a lot of formats and frameworks you can use. But what I like to utilize, and you can jot this down for yourself right now and maybe play with this as you listen to me, your elevator pitch should contain and have you be clear on who you are, what you provide, who you serve, how you serve them, and who you'd like to meet. And you may notice we started this webinar, they provided an introduction for me, but I also started the webinar with my own introduction, which is kind of my elevator pitch. The only thing I left off is who I'd like to meet. And we can certainly talk about that later, but I think the basics of who you are, what you provide, how you serve people, and who you want to meet is really what you need when you're going into a live event and you're able to be in conversation. Networking is also not a numbers game or a competition. I've heard people go to networking events with the goal of exchanging as many cards as possible in 30 minutes or less. Now, an exception to this rule is if gamification really energizes you on an authentic level. If playing a game like exchanging cards with 10 new people in 30 minutes fuels you with an authentic excitement and presence, trust that. Just notice if the small game steals focus from the bigger game, which is connecting on a real level with each of those people. When it becomes about speed and numbers over depth and having other people feel seen, that's when it's transactional. When you're out to win, you risk coming across as kind of a loser because people pick up on the energetics of competition, manipulation, or feeling like you're just out for you. Instead, if you do need to gamify an event for yourself, consider making it about, for example, having 10 people know that they were seen and heard by you. Authentic networking requires generosity of spirit. Networking is also not fodder for judgment, self-judgment, or judgment of others. Now, this is where your own inner work really comes into play. Judging yourself or other people is a sign of fear and insecurity. If this is an area of weakness for you, pay special attention in a moment when we go through the authentication process. And if you really struggle with putting down your judgments, consider working one-on-one with a coach or a therapist to release your old stories and make room for more grace, curiosity, and acceptance. From there, networking gets to be about building authentic relationships, sharing stories, finding mutual interests, creating value, an opportunity for personal growth, and the opportunity to shine while helping others do the same. And I really love this. I am an etymology nerd, and the roots of net and work are to shine and to carry out a purpose. So I thought to shine while carrying out your purpose. If that doesn't immediately reframe networking, then what does, right? At E&Q, we say who you are is how you lead. Who you are is how you lead. And this doesn't mean your job title or your status. This is about your being and the energy that you're transmitting when you walk into a room. That energy will inform how people experience and respond to you. And all of that is established before you even say a word. Imagine you're about to walk into a big networking event. Imagine you see one person walk in, grounded, open, warm, and then another person walks in flustered and rushed and self-focused. Who would you feel drawn to? Or let's say two people walk in as if they own the place, but one person makes you feel like they want to welcome you in, and the other person, you get the sense that they look down their nose at everyone. Different folks are going to be drawn to each other for different reasons. So there's no right or wrong with any of these people. Everyone is fine just as they are. But my point is that you know what it's like to feel somebody's vibe from across the room. So trust and hone your own energetic intelligence. Your energy speaks before you do, and like attracts like. So preparing who you are being is the key to transforming your networking experience and the quality of your network itself. To bring your best energy to networking, it's helpful to start by clarifying your values and vision. This is part of the authenticating process that I mentioned a moment ago. To authenticate means to verify the source. So think of the exercises that we're about to do as an authentication process, coming back to your center and the true source of who you are. When you are tapped into your heart, your soul, your wisdom, and your deepest sense of self, what matters most to you? What's your vision for the world? What's the difference you want to make in the world? What are you hoping to achieve through your network and your connections? Having a clear vision keeps you grounded and lets you approach networking as an extension of your personal values and purpose. Now you can see I've got this worksheet up. For those of you who might want a deeper dive into this, go to enqleadership.com. You can send me a message through our contact form referencing this webinar, and I'll send you our values and vision toolkit. And while we're at it, a little spoiler alert, I am also offering everyone here a complimentary 20-minute follow-up session. You'll get a link at the end of our time today. But my goal is that you leave here with access to some free tools and some additional support, should you want it, to optimize your networking and your leadership potential. Now let's play. Take a look at this slide for inspiration and choose your top 10 values. I know this slide is going to be a little hard to read for some of you. The font is a little small, but stick with me. This list is a partial list taken from our values toolkit. It's obviously not the end all be all of all values. So you might want to add some words of your own. It's totally okay to get creative with this. Authenticity is the point after all, right? So take a few minutes. Also make sure you read the description underneath the words. Some of these, you may see the word and have an assumption of what it means, but the description underneath may add a little extra context. One that stands out to me is aesthetics, especially. Sometimes people skip right over that one. And I actually, when I've done this exercise, that's one of the ones that that always makes my top 10, because it's not about what you look like, it's about appreciating beauty in the world and wanting to make the world a more beautiful place. I think of that as even appreciating natural spaces, the wonder of nature, things like that. So some of these words may have an automatic meaning to you, and there's some room to deepen in to what they mean. So once you've got your list of 10, notice how it feels in your body as you read your list. Taking a couple of these words: aesthetics, wellness, honesty, ambition, curiosity, achievement. You can even say them out loud if you're in a space where that's okay. But notice as you say them or as you read them, just see, does something shift in your posture? Do you feel your energy circulate in a slightly different way? And it might be subtle. That's okay. Also notice if your life currently feels aligned with these values, the ones that you've chosen. If not, that might be a workshop for another day, but just make note of it for yourself. Now we're going to take it a step further here. Narrow your top 10 down to your top 4. And I really wish I could see you all right now, because that part of the exercise usually either gets a gasp or a grumble from most people. It can be sort of challenging to choose only 4. So remember, just because it doesn't make your top 10 or your top 4 doesn't mean you don't value it, doesn't mean you don't embody it. It just may mean that it's not the highest priority in your life right now. So narrow down your top four. The reason for the top four, there's several reasons for this, but one of the reasons is that 10 is a lot to remember. When you're walking into a networking event, there's so much going on in at least for me, there's so much going on in my mind. There's so much going on in my energy. I'm usually trying to balance my emotions with my energetic state, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. But 10 values is a lot to have top of mind. So narrowing it down to a top four allows us to have easy access to something that we can ground into for a networking event. You may also find that your top four shifts from one event to the next. That's totally fine. Just play with it, and you'll start to find which values provide the energy you need to make the connections that you want, the energy you need to make the connections that you want. Now, with our top values in mind, we're also going to quickly write our vision. And this goes big. When I say your vision, I mean your vision for the world. And as you can see on the second half of this slide here, I break this down into the I, the we, and the all. And again, you may need to take this away as homework. If you work with a coach, this is a great thing to take to your own coach. But crafting your vision. What do I want for the entire world? What do I want for my family and my community? What do I want for myself? So I'll share an example of mine, might help you get your wheels turning. My vision for the all is that all beings feel safe and celebrated in the skin they're in. That drives everything that I do. My vision for the we is that my community know that they matter, that they're valued, and that they belong. My vision for myself is that I embody joy, connection, and empowerment, that I'm walking my talk, that I'm living and enjoying this life to the fullest while making the world a more connected place. Now, we can even get very specific with this. This can also be helpful before you walk into a networking event, being very specific with the measurables for your vision. How will I know that I'm making the world a more connected place? For me, I'm committed to coaching and training at least 5,000 people over the next 5 years, generating revenue that can be used to provide a beautiful life for my family, as well as donations to causes that align with my values. I'm committed to publishing a book by the end of 2025 and harnessing the power of energetic intelligence to deepen connections through workshops, music, and retreats. I'm sure you can understand how this level of clarity with myself about my values, my vision, and some specific goals helps guide my networking conversations. This framework also helps guide the questions I ask other people. What's most important to you in your work right now? What's your vision for the world? What changes do you want to see in our world? And how can I help you with that? What are you most excited about out of all of your goals for the year? Those are some example questions. Knowing and sharing yourself helps you invite others into a deeper knowing, sharing, and understanding. Said more simply, essence begets essence. Now let's move on to another tool that I think is essential before any meeting or event. This is one of my favorite concepts, intention and intention. Both are essential for showing up authentically. You're likely familiar with intention, the first one, but the second part, intention with an E, you probably wouldn't know unless you'd seen my TEDx talk or worked with me before. This is a concept of my own creation. Intention, the one that we're most familiar with, comes from the Latin word intentio, which means to stretch. So I think of this as the stretch between where we are and where we want to be, or what we have and what we want to have. So what's the goal or the outcome you're aiming for? Now, in this stretch, there can be positive tension, motivation and inspiration, or there can be more of a negative tension, comparison, despair, disempowerment. This is where intention comes in. Intention is the energy you want to bring as you close the gap, or the energetic contribution you will be. The intention, is what creates the experience we have of creating the results that we want. So in terms of networking, we might set an intention around who we want to meet and any other takeaways, what we might want to share, for example. And then we also want to set our intention, locking in the energy that will contribute to the space. Now, Intention, the energetic contribution, it's not meant to be a fix or a band-aid. It's not just a positive affirmation. It's also not just about how we want to feel. It's about what we want others to experience when they're in our field, when they're close to us. So, for example, instead of focusing solely, instead of focusing on, playing it cool, I want to feel cool, calm, and collected, or I want to feel confident, for instance. Instead of going for that, maybe ground yourself in the energy you want others to feel when they're around you. That might be the first examples that come up for me are warmth, curiosity, interest. A key here, there are no wrong answers, of course, but a key here is that energy or state of being can be separate from emotion. You heard me reference this earlier. Let me say a little more about this. I might feel tired or nervous before a networking event, but my intention is connection and presence. So I would acknowledge the sensations or the feelings of tired or nervousness, but then I evoke the energy of connection and presence, and my being shifts. You may be able to sense it or see it as I talk about it. Tired comes with, there's a bit of a heaviness there. You may even feel it as I talk about it. Everybody knows what that, what that feels like. But if I say my energy is about connection and presence, you notice that instantly. You can see it in my body language. My hands come forward. It's like I found my center. My eyes focus on a different point. So this, if you practice this, it's a really powerful tool. So let's try it. I'm going to stop the share. No, I'm nervous that I won't be able to get these slides back up how I had them. I'm not going to lie. We'll see. But let's take a moment to tune in for you. Tune into what you're naturally feeling today. Notice your thoughts, notice feelings, notice body sensations and emotions. Now, if what you notice is aligned with who you want to be, then great, pump it up, let that energy flow. But if your default state is not aligned with the energy you want to contribute here, tap into what you are committed to. Our commitments are bigger than temporary emotions. What you're committed to bringing in the space. And trust me, as woo as this might sound, we are all connected and we are all shifting together in this moment. If you are listening, if you are paying attention right now, if you're following along, your energy is impacting the people around you and possibly the people who are here watching. So shake off any boredom, confusion, anxiety, comparison, whatever doesn't serve you, and imagine the energy of your choice, either coming up from the earth, coming down from the sky, or emanating from your heart. And when you connect with it, let it move through your whole system. Close your eyes for a moment, if that's available to you, and imagine you're at a networking event, embodying the energy of welcoming or fascination. Notice how that shifts your physical and mental state. I highly suggest practicing intention and intention on a daily basis so that it becomes second nature and it will be easy to access in a high pressure situation like a job interview or a big presentation. Take a breath, just take a minute, let this all sink in. And I want to take a quick look at the chat and at Q&A to make sure that I did not miss anything. I like the business card question. I'm going to come back to that one. We're now shifting into the tactical portion of our presentation. So a few tactical notes on preparing for an event. Preparation can make all the difference, of course. So here are some other things to consider. Research the attendees or the presenters or the sponsors. Know who will be there, know, some of their accomplishments, what they might enjoy, what they're like, where they're from, things like that. Know so that you can bring up shared interest or reference, or maybe congratulate somebody on a recent achievement. If it's an industry-specific event, know about current trends and updates. Be prepared to share your opinions and ask relevant questions. Consider a buddy system. Plan to spend time, if you do bring a buddy, plan to spend time apart as well as together. Find your mutual advocates and create a referral system together. The next one is dress from your essence. Wear something that makes you feel like you. Be comfortable, Don't be afraid to stand out, but also don't feel like you have to. Just be you. And again, in case you forgot already, set a clear intention and intention. What's your goal and what energy will you bring? Okay, we've made it to during the event. You've prepped, you've planned, you're clear, present, grounded in your intention, you're in. Now what? Enter the space, pause, breathe, scan the room. Don't feel rushed. Notice where you feel called. Trust your gut, trust your energy, go where your energy pulls you, and then let go of attachment. When we guide psychedelic ceremonies, we support people with choosing a powerful intention for their experience. We also tell them, once that intention has been shared, to let it go. Release expectation and attachment and trust the process, baby. And the same thing goes for networking. Set your intention, bring your intention, and then be open to whatever and whomever shows up. That said, here are a few guidelines for that. Manage your energy, not just the type and the quality, which we've just talked about, but the amount of it. Let's talk about this through the lens of a component of your energetic style. Are you an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert? Understanding your tendencies can help you create a networking approach that feels natural. However you identify, plan for your own social limits. Know ahead of time, who are you going with? How long will you stay? Set and honor boundaries so that you can leave feeling energized rather than drained. And with proper planning, your intention will carry you throughout this whole process. For my introverts, go for quality over quantity. Aim for a few deep connections. That could be 1 to 3 deep connections. Take plenty of breaks to recharge. Give yourself permission to go home when you start to feel drained, or better yet, go home just before you start to feel drained. No need to let your battery drop to, 10% before you plug yourself back in. Don't let your energetic boundary get any lower than you would let your phone battery get. Literally, check your phone. This is actually an exercise you could do. Check your phone battery when you go into an event and set a limit for yourself. You and your phone have been going all day long. So let's say if it gets lower than 40%, you're out of there. That's a great practice for my introverts. For my extroverts, channel your energy, channel it wisely. Be sure to make space for other people. Deep listening is key for you. Also set yourself up, and we'll talk about deep listening in a minute. Set yourself up to follow up promptly and thoughtfully before rushing into the next event or connection. If you're getting someone's number, maybe send a text right there on the spot. This is also great for the business card question. I personally don't use business cards anymore. I started to feel like they were kind of outdated for me. I noticed that I wasn't great about keeping up with them when I received them. So I'm a big fan of exchanging information right there on the spot. For my extroverts, though, that said, you meet a lot of people, and it's possible that you leave a lot of people wondering where the heck you went. So save people's numbers with a fun fact about them in the contact information for yourself so you can remember part of your conversation. Another thing I like to do, and obviously this is going to be event specific. There are some places where this might not be appropriate, or where where it might be a little too casual. But I really like to take photos with people I meet. It helps me remember them, and it gives me a reason to message them. So I can send them the photo I took of us, and a few days later, I can mention whatever we were talking about when we took the photo. It helps keep the social and emotional connection alive, and it's a really simple way to build relationship. Um, for ambiverts, those of you who can go either way, it's great. You have the flexibility to adapt. So practice reading the room, adjust your style as needed, and be available to support your introvert and extrovert friends who might need a counterbalance. Let's see. I know I mentioned the buddy system. I think this one's really important. Know, though, if you thrive solo or if you prefer a buddy. Some of us show up better when we are on our own, when there's not somebody we know, we don't feel like we have to be who they expect us to be. We can really just show up however we are that day. So, like I said, if you bring a buddy, make sure you spend some time together and apart. When you are together with your networking buddy, consider introducing each other, or at the very least, plan on talking each other up. One of my favorite networking buddies, he might as well be my personal PR firm. He sells me, and I don't need to say anything other than thank you for the kind words. And likewise, I advocate for him. Now, he and I are very close friends and colleagues, so it doesn't take a lot of planning or priming. We know each other's strengths and goals. We know who each other might need to meet. And most importantly, we genuinely, wholeheartedly believe in each other's greatness and capability. So, bottom line here is find a network with your hype people. Find your people. Cynthia Greenewald. It's the name of a woman I've worked with in networking. She's a networking guru. She calls herself the amygdala wrangler. And she taught me something many years ago that I want to pass along to you. Go into the event as if you are a farmer, not a hunter. The hunter is looking for a quick kill and wants to eat now. The farmer is planting seeds, watering them, knowing that a big harvest will come in its own time. It's a long game. Notice the energetics of that. Notice even how your eyes shift in response to this mindset shift. So there's a nervous system connection here that I think is really, really valuable. The hunter has a narrower focus. If there's game in sight, the hunter is narrowly focused on that. The nervous system gets activated. The farmer takes in the whole field. There's a broader, more relaxed focus. For your nervous system, this actually signals that it's safe. There's a sense of safety. You're free to relax. And for most of us, that's the feeling, the sensation, and the nervous system state that we want to be in when we walk into a networking event. Now let's talk more about as the event gets going. Circulate strategically. Try not to get stuck in one conversation for too long. And again, I know some of these tips are pretty common sense. These are things that you might know, but some of us get really hung up on, I think on this one especially, staying in a conversation, either because we feel safe there and we don't want to branch out again. We found a person that we connect with and we don't want to go be brave over here with these people, or because we feel bad leaving them. So I will say it's better to leave wanting more and to leave others wanting more than to stay in a conversation past its expiration. If you do feel stuck, use your body language to physically indicate that you're making your way out. And you'll notice that your body is usually already doing it for you if it's time to go. Your feet start, your shoulders start to point out of the circle, your eyes start to wander, you get a little fidgety. Also notice this in the people that you're talking to. If you're talking to someone whose body language is telling you that they're ready to make a graceful exit, partner with them on that. Make it easy. You can say something like, I have so enjoyed meeting you. And then either enjoy your night. I've so enjoyed meeting you, enjoy your night. Or, hey, I've enjoyed this. Let's circle back again later. Or, I've enjoyed this. Let's set up time for a chat next week, depending on how connected you feel with that person, what your intention is with them. But don't feel obligated to pretend you want to stay connected with someone you don't feel a true connection to. That's a time and energy waster, and it comes from people pleasing, not authenticity. That is not authentic networking. That said, don't judge a book by its cover and don't discount someone just because you aren't immediately clear on what they can do for you. Using people to get ahead is the hallmark of transactional networking. And not only does it feel gross to the other person, but it actually causes you to miss out on opportunities. While you don't have to go deep or connect, spending a ton of time with every single person you meet, always treat everyone as if they're somebody. Kindness, dignity, humility. You can never go wrong with that intention. Now, on to some foolproof conversation starters. These can be your go-to for breaking the ice without some of the typical small talk, without talking about the weather or the traffic. And there's nothing wrong with those things either. But when you're deep into a networking event, sometimes you're just like, oh, let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to something real, So some of the questions that I really appreciate, that I enjoy being on either end of the conversation of. What's the most unexpected turn your career has taken? What excites you most about your work these days? What are you looking forward to right now? And that can take them into personal or professional conversation. You allow them to go wherever they're comfortable. And then you could ask further, if they say something personal and you want to know more professional, you could ask. I like starting a question with, have you ever? And it could be, have you ever visited a certain city? Have you ever eaten at such and such restaurant? Have you ever tried whatever it is that you have in your hand, whatever it is? But the point is experiential things that open up the senses and give you a chance to learn about how that person experiences the world. With that sort of question, I recommend staying away from something like TV shows. It can turn the focus to the show and not really the person's experience or a deeper information about them. So it can be good, in a pinch, you can talk about something like that you share an interest in, but as much as you can, stay with something experiential that could allow you to deepen. Once there's rapport and connection with someone, a great question is, what's your biggest challenge currently? Or what's your biggest challenge or growth opportunity currently? I actually like, let's amend. I like that second version better. Some people are going to feel a little confronted by being asked about a challenge, but if you frame it as a challenge or a growth opportunity, they're allowed to frame it in a more positive light. So above all, do ask genuine questions that align with your curiosity, and maybe think about questions that you might want to answer yourself, because chances are it's going to be turned back around on you. Don't ask provocative or overly personal questions before you've established rapport. I am seeing a trend lately. I think a lot of folks are very into trying to take a coaching approach when they're at these things, which is great. But I'm noticing sometimes people ask really thought-provoking questions without being in that level of relationship with the person. So it's a little jarring, and it feels a little like forced vulnerability, which is also not authentic. So just be mindful of establishing rapport. All right, practicing active listening. Active listening, this means listening with your whole self. Don't just stare at them and plan what you're going to say next. Actually take in their words. I find it helpful to silently repeat what's being said to me. I have ADD, and I have learned that silent mental repetition helps me process and stay fully present. Allow pauses. Utilize eye contact. And let silence be okay. You do not have to fill every moment in a networking conversation. Also practice creative listening and authentic relating. There's a great book called Making Conversation by Fred Dust. Highly recommend this book. In the book, Fred talks about creative listening. Here's how it works. When you hear someone speaking, let their words fall over you. Pay attention to what floats to the top. So practice that right now. As you hear me speaking, allow my words to fall over you like water, and notice what floats to the top. What floats to the top might be something I've said, or it might be a thought or a feeling or a sensation of your own. Here is where you can practice authentic relating, which is essentially sharing without judgment or attachment your own experience as an invitation for another person to relate. So you just listened, you let my words fall over you. What floated to the top? And maybe we can get a comment or two in the Q&A. Oh, and there are more questions in the Q&A. Oh my, great questions. Okay, hold on. Beautiful. I see someone else's comment on the biggest challenge. That's great. Okay, so what came to the top? Let's go back to this moment. What floated to the top? Some examples. It might have been curiosity about the book. What else have I learned about the book? How did the author come to learn about the art of creative listening? Those are some of the questions that might come up from that. Something else that might have floated to the top might have been your own feelings of relaxation or ease as you envision words falling over you like water. I see someone said water. In that case, you might authentically relate. I notice feeling at ease learning about creative listening. Or, yes, I notice I'm thirsty now. That could be a great way to leave the conversation, by the way. You could say, your mention of water led me to realize I'm thirsty. I'm going to step away and grab a sip. Thanks, nice to meet you, or I'll be back. Oh, that's great. Another tactic is storytelling, sharing a personal story if it's relevant. Now, I have 3 guidelines around storytelling for networking. Number 1, you've got 1 to 3 minutes max to create depth, evoke emotion in yourself and the listener, and provide a little insight into your world. 1 to 3 minutes max. Okay, so if you are that long, meandering storyteller who needs to tell us every single detail, practice cutting a 15-minute story down to 3 minutes and see what happens. Number 2, you should ideally know the ending before you start telling your story. That will also support the length and the lack of meandering. Number 3, this one's important. Your story should have a twist or a reveal of some sort. That makes it entertaining, potentially vulnerable, and most importantly, it builds emotional connection. Now, yes, I said you should know the ending, but that does not mean you should whip out the same scripted story at every gathering. It means remembering that you and your life story have the potential to be fascinating. And often, the shorter the story, the more interesting you seem. It's also nice to invite another person to share a story about themselves. Be careful, of course, not to put someone on the spot, but extending an invitation. Oh, tell me about a time that you XYZ, that sort of thing. Or let's see, the biggest challenge question. I want to tie this to some of the Q&A. Handling group circles. These are some situations where asking for a story could actually bring in the whole group. Or let me see. Yeah, I think, if you're standing in a group circle, for instance, you could share something that you are currently going through and say, have any of you ever experienced this? Can you tell me about a time you experienced this and what happened or how you handled it? So you get people talking and you get the whole group engaged. So those are some pretty easy tactics there. Let's see. Okay, we are approaching the end of our webinar as well as our hypothetical event now. So let's start to wrap up. And I think the important thing here is to remember that your work does not end when the event does. Post-event follow-up is where you solidify and nurture the connection. In today's busy world, follow-up is not always easy, but it makes a huge difference and it's worth it. Here are a couple of ways to handle it. Plan to see each other again at another event, networking or social event. Bonus points if you can get it on the calendar before you leave that event. So get it planned. If you need to reschedule, fine. That gives you a chance to engage and talk more. But if you can get something planned before you go, there's a much higher likelihood that you will see each other again and continue to build something. Generate meaningful follow-up. Send a personalized note, an email, or a text that references the conversation you had, maybe answers a question they asked you that you didn't have an answer to in the moment, or ask them to go a little bit deeper on something that got brought up in the circle or in your one-on-one. Nurture the relationship. Track your contacts. You can use a simple CRM. You can even use a spreadsheet. I'm kind of old school and I like to use Post-it notes, and I have a visual display in my office of, here are a few people that I've met recently. Here's when I want to follow up. Here's what I want to remember about them. But there are a lot of ways to track this. But creating some sort of simple system is really key because you're going to want to eventually track people over years and years and years. Also use your intuition here. If someone pops into your mind out of nowhere, trust that. I can't tell you how many times someone has popped into my head and I reach out and they say, oh, I've been debating about, reaching out to you for some support. And so it's a nice little nudge. It's like that is also energetic intelligence. Like I'm kind of feeling that person's energy. They're coming into my field. Let me just check in and see how they're doing. And it's really beautiful when there's a mutual connection there. And in my case, that has led to business. That's led to new business and clients many times. If you think of someone, really easy to just say, hey, thinking of you, would love to catch up soon. That's it. Leave it at that. Sometimes I find that saying, hey, how are you, is a little overwhelming because that answer for a lot of us is really complex these days. So getting a text from somebody I haven't seen in 6 months that says, hey, how are you? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll answer this one later when I have a simple answer. And then it takes, days or weeks. So just saying, hey, thinking of you, let's catch up is really nice, low pressure, low key. Be a value add in their life. Share resources, share connections that might help them. Share articles that you've read that you think might be helpful. And again, keep this low pressure on yourself. Trust. If you're reading something and somebody pops into your head, don't overthink it. Just send it to them. They will manage what they do with that. You don't have to manage their experience or their reaction. Here's maybe a controversial one. Asking for a favor. I say asking for a favor is okay. Research has actually shown that people feel closer to a person who asks them for a favor than they do to someone whom they have asked a favor. People enjoy feeling useful, so let them. Last thing I'll say, 1 to 3 reach outs without an answer is usually enough. Don't be afraid to nudge someone a time or two, but don't force it if they aren't responsive. Let them bless and release, give yourself peace. Okay, that's it. We are closer to the end than I realized. That's our overview of authentic networking. Like I said, you may have noticed the webinar itself followed the flow of what we're talking about. You got my elevator pitch, my vision and values. Hopefully you experienced my intention and intention, and I have initiated some follow-up without attachment. Let's see, we are going to share the slides with you all, I believe. And in the slides, there is one slide with some reminders about everything we talked about. So you'll get that. I really appreciate you all joining today. And let me see if there are any questions in here that I didn't touch on that I can. I like this question about feelings and potential anxieties that come with the physical effects of those feelings. And how do you focus your intention when you're having a physical experience? That is an excellent question. The more you practice distinguishing feelings from energy, the easier that will get. And something like the farmer or hunter analogy that shifts your focus. So here's some physical things you can do. Moving your eyes side to side will help reset the nervous system a little bit. Holding something in your hands, it's easiest to do with a pen. Hold a pen and switch the pen from hand to hand, coming back to the center line. That actually helps rewire your nervous system and your brain and create a different focus and calm. The last thing I'll give you for physical sensations is breathing. It's so simple and we all have access to it, but we all forget about it. Taking a deep belly inhale and breathing out as slowly as you can, ideally for 8 counts or more. If you can do 8 rounds of that, your nervous system will completely settle itself. It actually slows everything down in your system. If you're doing it right now with me, you will actually start to notice that it feels like time itself slows down. So that is a super easy one, and that will absolutely support with some of those physical symptoms, and it will give you access to allowing a different energy to come through. It will give you more access to choice. Because what happens when the physical symptoms kick in, our defense mechanisms start to kick in. We go into some defaults, and it can feel like we don't have access to anything else. So our choices feel limited. The more you can become aware of it, the more you can slow down, connect with your breath, find your feet, the more choice you'll have access to. Let's see, what else? I love, Miles put this in. I like ending a conversation with an offer to help the other person, saying, how can I help you with what you're up to in the world? Absolutely. I think this one is great. Make sure that you are in an authentic place when you make that offer. Make sure that it doesn't become just a thing you do. Make sure that you're really embodying the energy um, of making the offer. How can I support you? See if you can tap into curiosity, to excitement. The name of the book and the author again, Making Conversation by Fred Dust. Uh, and yes, people referencing types of listening. This is great. Listening to fix, listening to win, and listening to learn. That is wonderful. And an extra tip there too with the listening is sometimes you might want to ask the person, how can I support you around this? Or who can I be for you around this? Because sometimes they'll say, well, I could really use some help finding the solution. And sometimes they'll say, I really just want to vent and be heard. So then you are just listening to learn, even though a part of you is going to want to listen to fix. When we hear a problem, we want to try to solve it. So it's really powerful not only to have access to your different types of listening, but to ask the person to whom you're listening what would be most in service of what they're offering. How can an introvert break into an existing circle? This is a fun one. I think this one you will find if you practice the energetics, you're going to find that when you bring your intention, if let's say, as an introvert, let's say your intention is to break into the circle. If you embody that intention, I kid you not, you start to emanate that energy, the circle is going to open up for you. People are going to feel you standing there and they're going to say, oh, hey, come on in. So the energy that you're bringing is going to do some of the work for you so that you don't have to come in and try to say the right thing. That's one of the biggest tips that I think I can give you for today is that it is less about what you say or what you do and more about who you're being and what you are sort of emanating. Let's see. Cliff notes all the tips. Let me see if I can get the slide back up. I'm not gonna lie, we had a little trouble. I said I need a slide tutorial sometime in my life, but let me see if I can get this to work. Oh man. Okay, let's see if this works. No, you can't see it. It's a blank screen. You know what? I will make sure that you all get the slides because there is a little recap on here and I do want you to have it. Let me try one more thing. Bear with me. I think this is going to be just a little clunky, but that is okay. Yeah, it's a little clunky, but there is a recap of some of the tools that we looked at. Remembering it's relational, not transactional. Know your own values and your vision. Be ready to clearly communicate your vision. Intention and intention. Do your research. Bring a buddy, perhaps. And while you're reading these, let me just look at a couple of last questions that are popping in. Approaching networking if they don't currently have a job or a recent graduate, that's great. Don't feel like, in networking, it's not just about what you do. It's not just about your career. It's just relational. So if you don't currently have a job or you're in between jobs or you're just getting out of school, focus on what lights you up right now. Show up with the things that you're interested in, a trip you recently took, a book you recently read, a YouTube video you recently watched that you found intriguing. Go in and talk about some things like that. Quite often people are going to really gravitate to that because I think sometimes one of people's complaints at a networking event is that they feel like everybody's there to sell themselves, or they just want to talk about themselves and what they do. So you can share things that are not work related, and better yet, go in very curious about other people. As a new graduate, especially being curious, what was your career path like? What would you advise for somebody like me who's just starting out? Like, you can ask questions and just go in and be curious and listen to people talk about themselves. They will be thrilled and they will remember you, and you will make some great contacts to follow up with. Because again, you never know who someone is going to become on down the road. So like I said, always treat everybody as if they're somebody. All right. I think we're at time.
Casey, this was so good. Thank you so much. And I know I feel like questions are still coming in. So thank you everyone for attending, submitting questions, engaging with us with Kacey. Really appreciate it. And I know I took so much away from this. So I know that everyone on the Zoom did as well. And again, perfect timing for networking night coming up in a couple of weeks on Thursday, November 14th. The link to register if you haven't registered is in the chat. Also, Kacey's information is in the chat as well, so make sure you grab that. We will send out follow-up communication with Kacey's contact information or how to reach her, as well as the recording, because I know that that was a question we were getting and something that people were really wanting to go back and reference. So again, so many great nuggets and just wisdom that you shared with us, Kacey. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, if anyone has a few minutes, we did drop a survey in the chat if you're able to complete that. So we can continue to host more webinars and provide topics that you all are interested in. We would really appreciate it. But we are at 1 o'clock, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Kacey, thank you so much again. This was lovely. And thank you all for attending. We hope to see you at an event and a webinar again very soon. Everyone have a great Wednesday.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.